The Unplayable Podcast is proudly presented by Qantas, the official podcast partner and the official airline partner of Cricket Australia. Once again this season, Qantas is proud to be flying Australia's cricketers as they take on the world. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Unplayable Podcast. Australia's series against India has wrapped up in the ODI format and now they're on to the T20s. My name is Josh Schonafinger. Louis Cameron's going to join me from Canberra in just a moment and we've got a chat with Australian wicketkeeper Josh Philippe coming up as well in just a few moments. But first let's get to Lou, who's over there at Manuka Oval. And Louis, you've joined the leg for the T20s. It's going to be a big 5-match series coming up.
It's going to be a big 5-match series, and I really hope some of the venues are a bit warmer than the one I'm at the moment in Manuka. It was 2 degrees this morning, Josh, if you can believe that.
Oof.
In Canberra. I think there's a low of 6 last I checked for the night game on Wednesday night for the series opener here. So it's going to be slightly different cricket, and it's certainly not summer yet.
No, well, we're getting close, but we're not quite there yet. Australia won that 50-over series 2-1. Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma had a nice little farewell there in Sydney, but now they're out of the squad, and there's quite a few changes for both teams here, Lou, now that we've changed formats. Do you maybe want to give us a bit of a rundown on who we can expect to see over the next few matches?
Yeah, well, starting with the visitors, they're stable from the point of view from the Asia Cup squad that they had last month that won that tournament. There's only one change, Nitish Kumar Reddy in for Hardik Pandya. The Aussies are a touch more complicated. There's a lot of moving parts as they have one eye on the Ashes. Most significantly, Josh Hazlewood is only available for the first 2 games. He probably plays the first 2 games, given he's a first choice quick. Sean Abbott in a similar boat, he'll play or is available for the first 3 games. And then some reinforcements come in after that. Ben Dorshus for the last 2 games, Glenn Maxwell for the last 3 games, and very excitingly, Marley Beardman, the uncapped fast bowler out of Western Australia, will be around the squad and in line for an international debut for games 3, 4 and 5 in Hobart, Brisbane and Gold Coast. So a few moving parts. The other bit I should mention, it's a bit of a late one, is Adam Zampa's wife is set to give birth to their second child any day now. So he isn't. Andrew McDonald ruled him out of the series yesterday, but I'm hearing that there is some chance that he might still play if there's a safe arrival of the little one imminently, that the Gold Coast leg could be a nice little entry point for him to just pop up the highway, bowl 4 overs and then head back home before dinner at some point. So he is a chance, I've heard, potentially to play the last 2 games, but I think the Aussies are probably preparing for him not to be.
Okay, well, yeah, all the best to Adam and Hattie Zampa. Hopefully there's a safe arrival there. It's a good opportunity for Matthew Kuhnemann and Tanveer Sangha, though, because with that T20 World Cup coming up in a few months, really now, that's in the subcontinent, and Australia might want to take more than one specialist spinner there.
Yeah, it's not something they've done in any conditions, even ones that are spin-friendly. They like bowling Glenn Maxwell. You now have Matt Short in and around the team, although he might be the one who gets squeezed out for the first game tomorrow here. They just haven't really liked playing 2 spinners ever since they ditched the really unlucky Ashton Agar during that series or during that World Cup win in 2021. They like having the 3 quicks and they really rate Max's bowling. Kuhnemann's different because, he's the next guy in, and he's done, every time he's gotten the chance, which has been very infrequently, just because Zampa plays so much. Kuhnemann's done a great job. He bowled beautifully in that rain-affected ODI in Perth, which was essentially a T20. I think it was a 26-over game. And he offers something slightly different. Like he's a really good power play bowler. He's done that quite a bit for the Brisbane Heat. I think he'll definitely do that for Australia in this series, and that neatly marries up with the absence of, probably the biggest absence from this squad is Mitchell Starc, who retired from the format not so long ago. So it's a bit of an odd left-arm option to replace Mitchell Starc in terms of Matthew Kuhnemann. He's about 50 or 60 kilometres slower, but that is the kind of role that he might play if he or when he plays in this series.
Yeah, I like it. So as you touched on, there are a few coming back from injury at the back half of this series. Glenn Maxwell had that fractured wrist or forearm. Ben Dorshus, he's been out as well, but he's going to be coming back. And Josh Inglis, he's had a bit of a calf complaint, Lou. Do we have an update on the Australian wicketkeeper?
Yeah, he's good to go. Mitch Marsh just spoke moments ago and said he's fit. They haven't picked the team yet, or they haven't finalised the team yet, but he basically said that Inglis would come back in and bat number 3, which is where he was and doing a very good job of before he got injured. Matt Short has come in and done well at 3 in the one-day team. If you look at the T20 results, albeit from only 3 or 4 games, I think there might be a high of 25, 29, something like that. So he hasn't taken the ball by the horns quite in the T20 team, but he did make a nice 74 at that position batting in this one-day series recently. So whether that should get him some credits in the bank, potentially to bat lower down the order, it is something Short has done, but and they will need that potentially that off-spin bowling in Maxwell's absence. So there's just quite a few moving parts. I mean, when Maxwell comes back, you think the middle order is Inglis, Tim David, Maxwell, Stoinis, and maybe Mitch Owen, and maybe Owen and Maxwell are fighting for that last spot. Maxwell's not fighting for the spot, but Owen's fighting someone else, maybe Matt Short for a spot in there. So they're getting a bit of a backlog in there, which is a really great problem for them to have. And remember, of course, Cameron Green's not part of this squad, so there is a bit of a squeeze. And then with the bowling, especially the fast bowling point of view, Nathan Ellis has obviously made himself a lock, but I think Sean Abbott, Xavier Bartlett, even Beardman, if he goes well in this series, and Dorshus, who's done quite well as well, they're all kind of jostling for maybe that last position, because Pat Cummins is the other one that might not get back. If he pushes himself really hard in the Ashes, maybe that World Cup becomes a tough proposition for him to get back into. So a lot of variables in the mix there.
Yeah, and I want to get your take on Marley Beardman. He hasn't played a lot of domestic cricket. He's played a little bit in the Big Bash. Obviously, a under-19 World Cup winner with Australia. That was almost 2 years ago now. What can we sort of expect from him? And do you think there is a chance that he does get that ODI cap, that T20 cap in this series?
Absolutely, I think there's a chance. Yeah, I think they'd be really keen to see how he goes against better opposition than what he's played against before. He's the one that people spoke the most highly of coming out of that under-19 World Cup, and that's pretty high praise given Qantas, Harry Dixon, Callum Vidler, who did so well in the Sheffield Shield final last year. Beardman's the one that I think people were most excited about straight off the bat. As is typical with young fast bowlers who bowl 140 kilometres plus. He's had some injury issues. He had some stress fractures over the winter, but he's looked really good in the domestic stuff for Western Australia in a couple of one-day games, and the Aussies are dead keen on him. When you're young and you bowl fast, things can happen really fast for you. So, we've seen it before when Hazelwood, Cummins, Stark were coming through. If he impresses, he's every chance to be playing a bit more for them in the short term.
Yeah, that's exciting. And not his first time around the Aussie squad either. I think he was on that trip to the UK maybe last year as well. So definitely keen to get him in the Aussie colours. You touched on the top order and the middle order as well, Lou. The Aussies have sort of adopted a bit of a new approach in the last few months in this format. Andrew McDonald spoke on Monday about it, and it's based on basically going big and trying to hit sixes every ball. Well, that's a simplified version of it. Yeah,
well, maybe it's simplified, but maybe there's some truth into it. I want to ask you, Josh, about this more, because you wrote an excellent piece that went on cricket.com.au yesterday around some of the numbers, and yeah, they are going harder. It's funny that it does seem to be the solution to every problem in world cricket at the moment. If you're not going well, try and hit the ball harder, and it makes sense. Like, the aim of the game is to score runs, so why not? But Josh, you had a really great stat, and I'm not sure if the graphic's gone up on cricket.com.au socials, but just the elevation in Australia's strike rate in the power play has gone through the roof compared to other teams. Yeah, it has, and that's always sort of been a bit of an approach around this sort of format, is taking advantage of those first 6 overs, I suppose, where you can only have 2 fielders out, but never have we seen it at this level. Australia's power play strike rate this calendar year is nearly 170, which equates to about 61 runs in that first 6 overs, and that's the highest it's ever been. So Travis Head sort of said to us last
month that it's been a premeditated plan, because they're going to stack their middle to lower order with these big hitters who can do basically the same stuff with your Stoinis, your Green, your Owens, Maxwell, and of course Tim David, who's now batting a bit higher in that order as well. So it's exciting to watch. They were a little bit coy on it when they first rolled it out in the West Indies, and then in that South Africa series they sort of said that it wasn't a premeditated plan, but now we're sort of getting confirmation that yes, this is how we're going to play, and we want to take it all the way to the T20 World Cup.
And it's really, like, it's easy for him to kind of say that, everyone wants to go hard in the power play. Like, every team is talking about, scoring as many runs off the first 6 overs. But I think like a real practical example, and you were there, Josh, so you can probably speak to it more openly, but I think it was the first T20 they played up against South Africa in Darwin, and it kind of backfired a bit. Like, these guys were going hell for leather, and they lost 4 wickets, I think, in the power play. They still might have got about 70 runs off that power play, and they ended up needing Tim David to kind of come in and rescue them a little bit. But I reckon they'd almost say, well, that's vindication for what they've done. Like, that's maybe, they're happy to lose 4 wickets because they know that they've got the likes of David and Maxwell to kind of bail them out at the end. And, it would be a waste to leave them, to leave them in the sheds, basically. So, that's an interesting practical example of just kind of going, well, we're not going to shut up shop if we lose 2 quick wickets in the power play.
Yeah, you're right. And I think in that match you're talking about, Ben Dorcius was batting in the 9th over or something. That's just how many wickets they lost early. But I mean, Glenn Maxwell has sort of said it as well. He believes that all of this order, they've got the cricket now, so they're not just sloggers. They can knock the ball around and play conservatively if they need to. And Tim David is a good example, because he's maybe one who has been pigeonholed as maybe just a slogger, but in that innings he was turning down singles as early as the 9th, 10th over, because he thought that gave Australia the best chance of posting a good total, and they won that match, and it worked out well. So there is that versatility in that lineup, even though on paper you might not think that it's there.
Yeah, I mean, David, Australia hasn't quite caught on yet. I don't know if it's because, we don't take T20 seriously in this country, or because some of the games are behind a paywall. Sorry, all of the white ball games are behind a paywall. But he is legitimately one of the best cricketers, not only in this country, but in the world. And I feel like he's not a household name yet for whatever reason. People just haven't quite caught on. He plays a lot of his cricket overseas, of course, in franchise leagues. But people need to start recognising that he's basically in the same kind of talent group as, Pat Cummins, Steve Smith, Travis Head. Wow. It's infectious as well, because, like I watched Cameron Green bat in that ODI series that I think, again, you were at up in northern Queensland, and he was turning down singles himself, and Alex Carey was at the other end. And this, different format, but he was kind of going, well, I know that I can hit this guy for 6, and, two singles versus off the next 2 balls versus potentially hitting a 6 off the ball after that. Well, that's a 3 times better result. So, and he's the kind of guy, like, not just his personality. Well, sorry, his personality is probably not, in the past, I would say, not the guy who would grab the ball by the horns. He's a softly spoken guy, but he was a guy saying, no, Alex, like, I'm basically a better option than you in this situation. So, I love to see that kind of growth.
Absolutely, yeah. And another guy who sort of has that mentality a bit is Mitch Marsh. He's the captain. He's been in great form. Obviously, he got that fantastic century in that match against New Zealand last month. And he spoke on Tuesday to Lou. There's been a few whispers around his Ashes selection as well. Did he bite on that at all?
No, still continues, much to my disappointment, of course. Looking for an Ashes headline, that Mitch isn't particularly keen to go there. He did say that he was looking for a month off after this T20 series, but that the coach might have suggested that playing in rounds 5 and 6 of the Sheffield Shield could be a good option for him. I think that's a pretty good hint, Mitch, that maybe you might be in the Ashes calculations. It's Australia have been pretty open about how they haven't written him off, and you were saying off air to me, like, it was only last summer that he was considered in their best 6 batters in the country, and he went through a rough spot against an Indian attack led by one of the best bowlers in the world in Jasprit Bumrah, and but they haven't forgotten what he did at Headingley when he came back in 2023, and we were both there watching him deposit Mark Wood, who bowled, I reckon it's the fastest spell I'd ever seen that morning. He was bowling so quick, and he was pulling him in front of square for 6. to a decent, square boundary, and that's why they want him. England are bringing out some really fast bowlers, and Marsh is an excellent counter to those fast bowlers. So keep an eye on that one.
Okay, watch this space. Louis, Josh Philippe, he impressed in that Perth ODI, didn't he? 37 off 29 balls. You had a bit of a chat to him earlier. Do you want to give us a throwdown to the chat with the guy they call Flip?
Yeah, he's a really interesting character. He's kind of gone away from the Australian team. He hadn't played an ODI in 4 years when he came back and played at Perth Stadium the other day, and a really nice moment for him given Perth is where he's originally from. He now lives in Sydney, of course, after moving states a summer ago. So a really interesting story. He's the kind of guy who, is waiting for his chance behind Alex Carey and Josh Inglis in the 2 white ball formats, and he might also be the third in line in the test stuff as well. So he's got an excellent Australia A record, something I put to him, and he wasn't quite sure exactly why that is. He basically averages double in first-class cricket to what he does for the rest of his first-class cricket when he's playing for Australia A. So an interesting guy, a really thoughtful guy at an interesting point of his career. So if you're happy, Josh, let's hear from Josh Philippe. Here with Josh Philippe on the Unplayable Podcast, who's had a whirlwind few months and a whirlwind few days. We're in Canberra ahead of the first T20 International against India, and Josh has just gotten in from Sydney after playing in a grade cricket final. Josh, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Got the opportunity to come a day later to Canberra and play a club T20 for my local club Western Suburbs in Sydney, and snuck in the final and managed to help them chase down 180 and get their first title in over 50 years. So it was a big day for the club and super exciting.
Now I hear that it is your local club, but you're of course a Perth local, so you haven't played that many games, understandably, for them. It had been a long time between drinks, between titles for West, right? Yeah,
definitely. I came across from Perth last year and picked Western Suburbs as my club, and I think that was my 4th game for them over the last 18 months. Yeah. So to sneak in for a final and help them get that title drought, they were all pretty pumped up about that.
So you just swanned in and just won a title, and how easy is this?
It's it's just great to get an opportunity to be able to come back and give back and help the boys out. I mean, they love when I play, and I certainly try to play every opportunity I can, and there was just a small window there that allowed me to sneak in, and it was nice to be a part of that final success.
I'll be honest, I looked at the scorecard and I saw who you were opening the batting with. He made a 0, a golden duck. Hard Singh, who is probably what West have been in the news for. Disappointing not to see him get another 300.
Yeah, it's a shame. I obviously saw the highlights of that, and it was super impressive. He's a beautiful ball striker, and it's a shame he couldn't get many in the final. But I think he had all round a very good T20 campaign as well, and he's been going pretty good.
So 64 off 37 balls for you in that grade cricket final, preparing, I guess, and the day before you'd been carrying the drinks for Australia at the SCG. I just kind of want to go into just what the last 4 weeks or so have been like for you. You were player of the series in the Australia A 4-day series in Lucknow in India. You were whisked over to Mount Maunganui to replace Glenn Maxwell in the T20 squad, so a bit of a last minute one there. Back to play a 1-dayer against New South Wales in Perth, and then you're in the ODI and T20 squads a week or so after that. Is this kind of how you envisaged the start of your summer kind of all going 6 weeks ago, Josh?
Absolutely not. It has certainly been a whirlwind, but a very exciting one. The goal and the dream is to be back in the Australian setup, and it's just been awesome to be back around the group. They're going really strong at the moment as well. So it's really nice to be back around that. And if you asked me 6 weeks ago, was I still in Lucknow then? I'm not sure, but
I think so. Yeah,
it's all kind of happened and turned pretty quickly. But to be back and get an ODI in Perth, that was super exciting, and it was pretty cool that all my family got to be there as well to see it, because all my previous games and tours have either been overseas or during COVID. So it's been a special few weeks, and just exciting to be back around the group.
I want to dig into that a little bit, but maybe let's start with the Australia A series. This is kind of the series that kind of happened behind closed doors for all of us. We wanted to see you make runs, and especially I guess Sam Qantas, right? Because we kind of wanted to see how he was batting. He made 100 in one of those games that you did. What was it like over there? It sounded like the heat was super intense.
Yeah, I mean, it's an awesome experience to be able to go over to India and experience some different conditions, and that was my first time playing 4-day cricket over there as well. So, yeah, I mean, it was a great trip, and I think none of the games were televised or anything. So yeah, as you said, they all were pretty quiet really, but just a great opportunity. I think the A set up, being able to go over there and take young players and players like myself to just get some experience in those conditions, is just great going forward. And it was certainly a different challenge tackling, spin in some challenging circumstances, but a great fun trip. It was a great group to travel with and play with, and we all really enjoyed it.
I spoke to Tim Payne kind of at the end of that series, your coach over there, and he was kind of almost surprised a little bit about how the red carpet had been rolled out for you guys in terms of the conditions that you had to train in, and what you got in terms of the quality of opposition. I mean, that last game, KL Rahul's batting, and then a week later he's making 100 for the test team. Like, just to what was it like kind of seeing those guys in action and to train and play against them? Yeah,
I mean, to get them to roll out the team they did. They had a lot of test players in that team as well. It's just a great opportunity for us because you never know what you're going to expect, but we also had some spinning conditions as well. We sort of, it's a bit unknown going over there what you're going to get, but I thought the wickets were really good. They were flat early first couple of days, but as the game went on, they broke up, they spun, they kind of did what you'd expect an Indian wicket to do. So that was really exciting to be challenged in those conditions, and with the quality opposition, getting to watch how they go about it. Like KL batted beautifully. Syed Hassan as well, was amazing, and just they play very differently to the way we do. So just being able to witness them do it in their conditions, was super special as well.
400s for Australia A now. You're averaging over 60 in first class cricket for Australia A. What is it about that level that kind of brings out the best in you?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I think, I don't know exactly, but it's certainly a very relaxed environment. It's pretty cool how you can team up with other high quality players across Australia, and I think now Payne being involved a lot more there as well. It creates a really relaxed environment, an environment where it's okay to fail and just go out there and, back yourself and sort of do your thing. And, I think that's just really helped me. And, he's also been great for my keeping as well. Having a high quality coach and, probably one of the best wicket keepers ever, being around, it has just been awesome. So, I've really, enjoyed being a part of the setup.
That relaxed environment that the Australia A team has created, I know Payne has talked about wanting to replicate what the Aussie team is doing under Pat and Mitch Marsh and Andrew McDonald. Is that something that you've noticed now stepping into the ODI T20 group? Yeah,
definitely. I think, as you said, the goal is to align at both. So, if you move into the next setup, it's pretty similar. And that's certainly what I've experienced. A lot of sort of optional stuff and get what you need stuff, which I think is really important at the next level, because you sort of get picked for a reason, and you don't want to be going in that environment feeling like you need to do more or something different to I guess what works. So it's certainly very aligned.
So when we kind of last saw you playing for Australia, or your last long stint, you played 13 games in 7 months through kind of that COVID time in early 2021. What were you like as a player then, Josh, and how do you kind of look back on that, and things you would do differently? What's the kind of changes since then?
Yeah, I think back then I was pretty young and raw, and it was interesting times around COVID as well. Like, a lot of the tours were up in the air as well, and very much hotel bound, and you were very limited in I guess what you could do, and I found it quite challenging at the time. And I feel like my game at that point in time, probably wasn't as fine-tuned as it is now. So, like the challenge there was, you know, there were some tough wickets as well. A lot of games at the same ground, so a lot of used wickets, and you know, I just felt like I probably didn't adapt as well as, you know, I would think I'd be able to do now. But you know, again, they were great experiences for me. You know, I took out a lot of really good learnings from them, and I feel like I've just put them into my game now and sort of developed them over the last few years.
It seems to be a real theme with a lot of the guys this group is kind of picking now, like even looking at someone like Matthew Renshaw, who we know, you know, had the amazing test start to his career and then kind of went away and had to change a few things. Like, do you actually feel like, you know, now you're in your mid, late 20s, like you're kind of better equipped than what you were when you first kind of came in?
Yeah, definitely. You know, I think, I guess having the opportunity to take those learnings and you know, get those experiences as quite a young player has been super beneficial. Like, you know, I probably didn't feel it exactly at the time when I got dropped from the team, but you know, I think those experiences, you know, have just carried a world of good for me going forward, because you know, at the next level you get challenged in different ways and it's tough, and you know, being able to go back and sort of apply my trade at state level, tweak, adapt, change a few things technically as well, you know, has probably, you know, got me back towards where I am now, where, you know, I feel like, you know, I'm back in amongst it, and yeah, I guess they've been really good learnings.
What kind of are those specific changes, and who are, like, I know like Tom Scolay's a guy you've worked with a lot over in Perth. You obviously probably wouldn't see him as much now that you're in Sydney. Who are the people you're speaking to, and what are the changes you've made?
Yeah, I mean, I chopped and changed a lot over the years, but yeah, you know, I guess where my game's at now, for me it was probably just being a lot stiller at the crease, keeping my eyes level, and you know, just reacting a bit more, not premeditating, and not taking that, you know, sort of huge stride across the crease outside off stump. So I've certainly calmed a lot of that down and just try to keep things super simple. But yeah, Scholesey's been great for me over the years, and now in New South Wales I got Shippy, who, you know, I'm very close with. Nick Larkin is a batting coach who's really good, and you know, I also work with a guy called Tahmid who works a bit with Sammy Qantas as well, and you know, he's been really good at just, you know, helping me simplify things, and you know, just, you know, I guess a bit of attention to detail with my training and being really specific with what I've been doing, which has been really helpful.
The stuff around the trigger is interesting, because it feels like every batter seems to fight this thing, like whether they do it or not, and sometimes it helps them. And I feel like, you know, tell me if I'm wrong, but the trend has been more towards going to actually using one and having that little thing to get to warm yourself up to face the bowlers. But you've kind of gone the other way. Yeah,
like I still have a little one with my back foot, so I'm still moving a touch. But yeah, you know, I guess it's sort of an individual journey. Like, you know, if you can move across and keep your head still, I think it's absolutely fine. But I found with myself that, you know, I was moving and it would get bigger and bigger over time, and I was just falling over too much, and I was getting hit on the front pad a lot. So I felt like, you know, at the end it was actually counterproductive. So yeah, I decided for me it was best to try to be as still as possible. I've still got my little trigger because I feel like it, I guess, charges my feet up a bit to be able to move back into the ball and be really sharp. But yeah, the biggest thing for me was keeping my head still. So yeah, I kind of went away from that.
As Steve Smith just kind of ruined it for everyone. Like, everyone looks at him and he's, you know, the best player we've had in the last 15 years. Everyone goes, oh, well, just try and bat like him. But actually, it's really hard to replicate.
Yeah, definitely. Like, he's obviously a genius, and you know, certainly for a few years there, I was trying to bat exactly like him. He was one of my idols growing up. So you know, I think as most people in Australia, we all wanted to be like him. But yeah, like I said, it's very individual. I think, like, you know, some guys are able to do it and stay really still, and he's one of those, and others aren't. And yeah, like I just found for me it wasn't working as well as I liked. Like, you know, it looked cool, and you know, it looked a bit like smudge, but you know, I wasn't quite getting the results doing it. So you know, I guess I just went away from it, and yeah, just I guess try to bat a bit more like myself.
Mm-hmm. That's a great way of putting it, mate. And that's exactly what you did in your first ODI in more than 4 years. The other day in Perth, you said how special it was for your family to kind of be there. But you know, you're coming in to bat at number 4. It's not a spot you've batted a whole lot in the last kind of couple of years. What was that kind of like in front of a big crowd against, you know, one of the best teams in the world?
Yeah, I mean, it was super exciting. Like, you know, I feel like I've been waiting for this opportunity for a long time, and yeah, I guess to get the opportunity to bat at 4 as well was probably something I wasn't expecting. Like, you know, with Greeny green ears are laid out, it probably opened the door for that. And yeah, you know, it was just super special to be able to get an opportunity to bat and have an impact in the game. And yeah, like I feel like my game's in a pretty good place at the moment. So, you know, I was pretty confident out there. But yeah, you know, it was just super exciting. Like, you know, as I said, I've been waiting a long time. I wasn't sure if this opportunity was going to come again. So I just wanted to make the most of it.
Is that the like, it's an interesting one. I feel like you've probably been asked over the years, like everyone wants to open the batting in short form cricket, right? But probably the gap, if you know Inglis or Alex Carey misses in the white ball formats, it's probably in the middle, right? Like, have you thought about you know, whether you'd want to do that for the Sixers or New South Wales?
Yeah, it's an interesting one because having those conversations they're pretty happy with me sort of staying at the top.
Okay.
But you know, like I think the way I play now, you know, I'm a lot more adaptable, and I feel like, you know, if the opportunity does come in the middle, you know, I can still do that. But yeah, you know, it has crossed my mind, but you know, I guess that's up to New South Wales and the Sixers, I guess. But you know, I'm happy to bat wherever. I know what, you know, to get back in the team, you have to be making runs. So wherever that best place is, you know, I like to think, you know, I guess they know that I'm adaptable now and can bat in that middle order role as well. But, you know, if you're making hundreds at the top as well, you know, that certainly sends a message too.
And it seems like a lot of guys who have thrived in the middle order, just thinking about the T20, for example, like Stoinis, you know, Matthew Wade, going back a bit, like they bat, you know, in the top three for their big bash teams. And I guess, yeah, they've just kind of been versatile, haven't they?
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, like I said, you get picked based on weight of runs. So, you know, wherever you're batting, if you're making runs, you know, that's where you put your sort of name up in lights and can get picked. So, you know, that's my plan moving forward. Just wherever I'm batting, make as many runs as I can and, you know, see where it goes from there.
What do you think of facing Bumrah in this T20 series, mate? If you get the nod, like, just I was watching him at training the other day, and like he hasn't got any slower, mate.
Yeah, no, it's exciting. I reckon I faced an over of him in the IPL in 2020. So yeah, yeah. Interesting. He's got an interesting action. It certainly comes down a bit differently to most other bowlers, but yeah, I think the prospect's really exciting. You know, he's the best player in the world, the best bowler in the world. Yeah. So, yeah, just excitement, really.
And they're spinners as well. Chakravarthi's a guy that not the Australians wouldn't really know. You know, we've seen Kuldeep and Washington. Yeah, you feel pretty well equipped to handle those guys too.
Yeah, I mean, it's always interesting facing bowlers you've never faced before, but you know, I like to think my game against spins, you know, pretty compact and pretty solid. So yeah. I guess if the opportunity comes, I'm looking forward to that challenge, and yeah, it should be good fun.
Let's chat about your hair, mate. People who follow you on social media would have seen that you're going through, I think you called it a hair regrowth journey, which is a great kind of way of putting it, mate. Yeah, talk to us about what that's been like.
Yeah, so it didn't quite just grow back. There's a bit of a process to it. But yeah, essentially what they do is it's called a hair transplant. They pull some follicles out the back and they, I guess, put them back where you'd rather them be, sort of towards the front and in the middle. And yeah, it was an interesting process. The first few days, you know, it's sort of your head scabs up a bit and you can't touch it and you got to spray it with salt water. So that was a little bit uncomfortable there. But, you know, after that, you start washing your head, your scabs come off, and then, you know, it's a bit of a waiting game to see how it comes back. And yeah, like 6 months on now, I'm pretty happy with the results so far. And yeah, you know, the team at Grow Clinics did a great job, and, you know, they've been super supportive of the journey as well. So yeah, pretty happy so far.
So just that initial thing, you've got a scabbed up head and you got to spray salt water. Like, how was sleeping in that period?
Yeah, it was pretty tough. You know, I was almost sitting as I am now at night time for the first week. You know, fully upright. Yeah, it was a bit uncomfortable, pretty itchy. But, you know, like, I knew that was going to happen. I knew it was going to be a part of the process. And, you know, once you kind of get through that first week, you're pretty sweet. So yeah, I guess, you know, once you're through that, it's yeah, waiting to see how it grows back.
And it would be this would be something like a lot of men go through, right? And it's just not something that a lot of men really talk about. Like, what kind of made you, I guess, so happy to kind of talk about it?
Yeah, I mean it's an interesting thing. Like blokes generally don't talk about it too much, and when you kind of go on board, you just get told to shave your head, and that's kind of what happened to me. And I did it, and I guess I felt like I was a bit too young to go down that process, and I just wanted to explore what the options were, and I reached out to the team at Grow, and had a really good few consults with them, and they were pretty optimistic about, I guess, what it could look like. So yeah, I guess I just pulled the trigger, and it's been really good. I've had quite a few people reach out to talk about it, and yeah, I'm always happy to talk about my journey and discuss it. But I guess it's just one of those things. I think it's becoming a little bit more normal now, but still knowing that there are ways you can go about it, and there are options are probably important to know.
Have we looked at your batting average pre-hair growth and post?
I think it'd be all right based on the last few months, but hopefully it can keep going.
Yeah, well, you never know. I mean, Alex Carey, there was a great stat about Alex Carey before he fell in the pool in Pakistan during that series, and after he fell in the pool. So you never know what the turning point might be, mate.
Yeah, I guess we'll keep seeing how it goes.
Yeah. Before we finish up, interested to hear your thoughts on the Sixers this season, and you got a pretty big recruit in the top of the order with Babar Azam. How cool is it going to be to play with him?
Yeah, super exciting. Like I think the rest of our group is pretty similar as always, but we got some exciting new internationals this year. Baba, Pakistan legend. It's super exciting. I'm pumped to be able to bat with him and see how he goes about it, and we're hoping to get some really big crowds at the SCG with him as well. So really excited about that, and then Sam Curran as well. We had Tom for a long time there, and now we got Sam. So really excited for him as well, and I think he'll be a big addition for us. With our batting and bowling. So yeah, pumped.
Opening the batting with Baba. That's you, not Sam Curran. Are you going to open the batting with Baba?
Yeah, I'm not sure yet.
Okay.
We haven't had those discussions yet, but I'd say it's probably a good possibility.
Yeah. Where do you feel like the team's at the moment, mate? Like, very stable, a couple of those big name recruits, but yeah, what's next for the Sixers?
Yeah, I mean, we've always been very competitive every year. We've had the same group together for a long time. So I think it's just another exciting opportunity for us to just adapt again, and the game's sort of moving in an interesting direction, like with guys like Mitchie Owen at the top now, taking the game on really hard, and sort of boosting him to a really strong position after those 4 overs. So no doubt this year we'll have some tactical conversations around how that looks for us as a group, but yeah, we've been consistent. Every year that I've been a part of it, really. So, it's super exciting to think about, another year of finals prospects and, hopefully pushing to win that trophy again.
This does seem to be a theme. I know that the Aussies, have been pretty open about speaking from a T20 point of view, going even harder in that power play than what they have. I think you guys are, the Aussies are averaging 160 strike rate in the power play, which is a lot higher than a lot of the other teams around the world. Is that something that you've kind of been briefed on when you've come into this group?
I think it's clear to see the intent at the top of the order. They're going really hard now, and those sort of 6 over power plays really, really important to maximise. And I guess the challenge with the BBL is those 6 overs become 4. So how that looks is quite different, and I think that's why you see guys like Mitch Owen now just going really hard from ball 1, really trying to maximise those 4. So yeah, certainly the intent of the Australians, it's pretty exciting to watch for sure. They're going very hard, and they're really pushing the limits of, I guess, what's a big score, and what's a winning total now. So it's super exciting, and no doubt that's going to keep translating through the Big Bash as well.
Perfect. Looking forward to seeing it in action, both at a national level and Big Bash as well.
Easy. Thanks,
Cool.
Lou.
Thanks, Josh.